Welcome back. I have another wild case for you, similar to my recent videos. This fits right into the same time period, the mid 1960s. So far, I've covered a missile silo incursion in 1966, a lavender farmer, close encounter with beings, oddly interested in his lavender plants in 1965, a dairy farmer who also encountered occupants of a landed craft, oddly interested in his fertilizing techniques. And I say oddly because they didn't seem too familiar with the subject of fertilizer. This report is no exception when it comes to being strange and actually involves military personnel. Now, on March 23rd, 1966, as reported in the book Messengers of Deception by Dr. Jacques Vallée, where he describes an instructor at Shepherd Air Force Base in which he had a close encounter with an occupant of an unknown craft. Now, this took place in Temple, Oklahoma. An instructor in aircraft electronics at Shepherd Air Force Base is driving to work at 5 a.m. on Route 65 and approaches the intersection with Highway 70. 1 mile before the intersection, I saw a very bright light a mile or so to my right. And I suppose it was a truck having trouble on the highway. I went on to turn west on Highway 70. I went a quarter of a mile or so and changed my mind and thought that it was a house that was being moved down the highway in the early morning hours. Now, Vallée goes on to ask, did you seem to be getting closer to it all the time? He responded, yes, sir. It was parked on the highway and I got within 100 yards of it and stopped, got out of the car and started trotting towards the object, leaving the car lights on and my engine running. I got about 15 steps or so and I happened to think I had a Kodak on the front seat and I would like to get a picture. I hesitated just a second, and while I did, this man that was dressed in military fatigues, which I thought was a master sergeant, stating that he actually saw the master sergeant insignia on his right arm. He had a kind of cap with a bill turned up, weighed approximately 180 pounds, and was about 5'9". He looked perfectly ordinary. Oh yes, he was just a plain old GI mechanic or crew chief or whatever he might happen to be on that crew. He had a flashlight in his hand and he was almost kneeling on his right knee with his left hand touching the bottom of the fuselage. So Vallée goes on to describe the object. It looked like an aluminum airliner with no wings or tail, no seams along the fuselage. It lifted up vertically for about 50 feet and headed southeast, almost straight backward, off by about 10 degrees, at a speed estimated to be about 720 miles an hour, judging by the barns illuminated along its path across the valley. It was the size of a cargo plane and had no visible means of propulsion. The witness was grilled by a room full of officers at the Air Force Base. A truck driver down the road from the incident had observed the object as well. Whoever he was, the man in the baseball cap was no interplanetary explorer. Whoever they are, the occupants are not genuine ETs. Either they're images created within the brains of the witness, possibly by remote stimulation of the visual cortex, or they are characters in a staged occurrence, actors in a deception operation, carefully borrowing its concepts from basic human archetypes. Now, why would beings be doing this? Why stage these contact events? One theory presented in the book is that they are attempting to force global behavioral change. I don't subscribe to that. How are you forcing change with one single instance of contact? It seems if this is the case, then whoever is doing it doesn't seem to be very good at it. The question is, how much of behavioral change have they actually influenced? How do you get a message out through a farmer in a small town, or an Air Force Base instructor driving to work one day. I will say, in other cases similar to this, different messages are given in the same strange, mundane way. Not the event itself being mundane, but the vehicle in which they choose to deliver their message. It doesn't add up. Well, that is all I have for you today, and I will see you on the next one.